All right, let's jump right into it. If you're a high-performing founder, you already know that closing high-ticket deals absolutely requires authority. But for this explainer, we're going to put on our strategic advisor hats and expose a massive structural flaw that is literally bleeding your conversions dry. It's a fundamental issue with exactly how you perceive and then present your own earned capability.
Here is the quick agenda for what we'll be covering. First, the minimization tax. Then, hard-to-ignore evidence, followed by the capability accuracy protocol. Next, building a scalable minimum viable offer, and we'll wrap up with your next logical step.
Okay, Section 1, the minimization tax. So you know that habit of brushing off your own skills, calling it humility? Well, minimizing what you know is not an endearing personal quirk. It is a severe tax on your authority and your bottom line. We call it the minimization tax. What happens is, founders grind endlessly to build incredibly complex skills, but when it's game time, they hesitate. Usually, it's out of this misplaced fear of sounding like a grifter. So they downplay compliments, or they just kind of assume everyone else in the room is way more capable. This creates what we call a shrinking presence. And make no mistake, it is the silent conversion killer, because it actively bleeds the trust your prospective high-ticket clients need to see to actually sign on the dotted line. This idea perfectly captures the heart of the issue. You do not have to downplay skills you work to build. Seriously, think about that. Capabilities earned through grueling effort. It's not magic. Downplaying your hard-earned skills doesn't make you more relatable to high-ticket clients. Ironically, it just makes them second-guess your expertise altogether. The core of the problem is that founders often confuse confidence with arrogance. But there is a huge clinical distinction between hype-driven ego and objective accuracy. Hype is just overstating your skills, which creates this immense, exhausting pressure because you are constantly defending a fragile glass balloon. But objective accuracy, that's entirely different. That means simply owning the honest truth of your capability. It's trusting what you know, without exaggeration and without apology. And that is what creates unshakable stability. Moving into Section 2, hard-to-ignore evidence. Let's look at how this micro-story plays out over time. Day 1 is just pure repetition and effort. It's a grind. But months later, something shifts. You start accumulating hard-to-ignore evidence. You're solving complex problems, understanding intricate systems, handling really difficult tasks with total ease. As your strategic advisors, we don't want you to see this as some feel-good motivational moment. No, this is a hard-coded pivot where data finally replaces doubt. Over time, that quiet confidence settles in because it's no longer a guess. It is built entirely on undeniable proof. And that brings us to this massive paradigm shift. Acknowledging that you handle complex tasks with ease simply makes you honest. Owning your capability is not arrogance, it is accuracy. Put it into perspective. When you look at the raw data of your own past performance, doubting yourself isn't being humble. Actually, you're actively arguing against your own facts. Let's dive into Section 3, the Capability Accuracy Protocol. This protocol isn't just a fun little mindset shift. It is the primary architectural brick of a high-ticket offer. It literally requires 4 logical steps to rip out impostor syndrome and replace it with hard-coded data. Step 1, acknowledge the effort you've invested. Step 2, stop brushing off compliments. Treat them as external data points that confirm your competence. Step 3, let that evidence guide your self-trust. And finally, Step 4, accurately own your results. It all boils down to a few core truths. Confidence equals competence. Worthiness simply means recognizing the massive effort you've already put in. And this is the real game changer. Capability acknowledged becomes capability expressed. The moment you adopt these truths, your daily, unseen repetition suddenly turns into an unshakable, highly converting asset for your very next sales call.
Section 4. Building a Scalable Minimum Viable Offer, or MVO.
Think about the contrast between 2 very different foundations. On one hand, you absolutely cannot build a scalable MVO on a shrinking presence, a foundation where you constantly brush off your own worth, minimize your knowledge, and just assume everyone else is smarter. That completely destroys your confidence in a sales environment. Contrast that with a scalable MVO foundation. This one relies on honesty, not hype. It owns the absolute truth that you can deliver exactly the results you're promising. And frankly, that is the only way to create the stability you need for rapid growth.
So let's revisit this idea because it is absolutely crucial. When you accurately own your ability to deliver promised results,
your offer stabilizes, and more importantly, it scales. Capability acknowledged becomes capability expressed. The second you finally admit to yourself just how good you actually are, that competence naturally expresses itself. It totally transforms your pitch, it easily justifies your high-ticket pricing, and it commands the room.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, your next logical step.
The source material gives us one single powerful directive. Just one. I want you to acknowledge exactly one skill you have earned through practice and repetition right now. Don't overthink your entire resume, don't look at the whole shebang. Just pick one ability you have undeniably developed and let that recognition reinforce your confidence today.
Now, if you want some strategic help owning and strengthening these earned skills so you can finally stop bleeding authority, heading over to 365freedom.online is for sure your logical next step. It's the perfect resource for founders who are truly ready to turn their reputation into an unshakable asset. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on before you step into your next high-ticket advisory meeting. Ask yourself, are you building your offer on a shrinking presence or undeniable proof? The data is already there. It's time to start using it. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and we will see you next time.